and welcome back to another episode of Loud and Opinionated. I am your host with the most. I keep saying that every week. That way I can believe it. If I keep telling myself it's the truth, it'll eventually be the truth, right? So I wasn't going to do this episode, did not plan on the docket of episodes this week to talk about college football. I had just done a special episode that's up already on loudopinionated.com and podcast services all over the globe. So I decided, you know what, maybe let's do one about, video games, something about movies, something different. Let's not so football heavy. Because the last few posts on the website, last episode, I'd been talking about football a lot. And then something really big happened in college football, and I feel like I have to give my opinion on it. And, so now that you're hearing this on Tuesday, Urban Meyer announced that after the Rose Bowl, he's retiring from coaching with Ohio State. And he said, we'll get into it a little bit, the decision, what caused this decision, this, that, and the other thing. But, he's gone. And before I get into my very personal reasons for this, I think there's something to take away immediately out of this. If you're a fan of any other team in the Big Ten other than Ohio State, you're excited because now I feel like the chances of winning have gone up exponentially, especially if you're a Michigan fan. You can maybe beat Ohio State these coming years, because who knows what happened. I mean, to me, it's obvious Harbaugh can't beat Urban Meyer. And I don't think that he was going to be – if it wasn't going to be this year, I don't think it was going to be in a year for Michigan. So if you're a Big Ten East team, your chances have very much increased a lot now that Urban's gone, especially Michigan. Again, personal issues aside, I think if I looked at his overall record, it is very impressive. I mean, going back to – Bowling Green, even where he won at Bowling Green, he won at Utah. Everywhere he coached, he won. And you got to go all the way back to 2001. He's had 17 years of head coaching under his belt. And you go back to 2001 at Bowling Green, he had an 8-3 season. His first year, his second year, he was 9-3. His third year, after that, he goes to Utah for 2 years, has a unbelievable 22-2 record. Then goes to Florida for 4 years, and he won 2 national championships, and he was also responsible for Tim Tebow. And then he goes to Ohio State, and his record is 82-9 right now. Could possibly be 83 if he beats Florida, his old team. No, he doesn't play Florida. I'm having a brain fart. Florida plays Michigan. But if he wins this next game in the Rose Bowl, he will be 83-9 to end his career at Ohio State, which is a very impressive feat to be that good. And there's no denying that he was one of the best coaches ever. He went 4 for 4 in championship games, or BACS. If you want to look at it this way, major bowl games, not 4 for 4 because he's only won 3, but if you want to talk about major bowl games, he's unbelievable. It's amazing the level of talent that he had and the level of ability he had to continue to at every level. And I mean every school he went to, Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, Ohio State, he won games and he won a lot of football games. It's impressive to me to win 8 or 9 games at Bowling Green. I mean, just look where the school has gone since he's left. They're nobody. They never cross anybody's mind. Utah, I think you don't have the success Utah has now in the Pac-12. You don't have that success without Urban Meyer. I think he definitely laid the groundwork. And if you look at Florida, they really haven't been the same since. They're finally getting back and winning football games and looking like they're on the right track with Dan Mullen. But before that, they were floundering and weren't even competitive in the SEC least. Wink to SEC West fans out there. But they weren't even competitive in that division. And they were never the same since he left them. And Ohio State, I mean, as soon as he walked into Columbus, he went 12-0. And didn't get to play for a championship because of, tattoos. But yeah, there was never any doubt that he was going to be as successful as he was at Ohio State. Personal issues aside, he, without a shadow of a doubt, is one of the greatest coaches ever. And I think he's the only one that could go toe-to-toe with Nick Saban and beat him. He's done it before. He's beaten Nick Saban when he was with Florida. He beat Nick Saban when in the semifinal with Ohio State. So the guy is absolutely a great coach. I will never take that away from him on the field. He is one of the best offensive minds, one of the best head coaches ever to coach in modern college football. Now, with all that aside, personal issues, I think he's a scumbag. I think he's a liar. And I think that when push comes to shove, we cannot forget that as fans of the sport, as fans of Ohio State. You have to, deep down, you have to look at yourself and be like, yes, he won us a lot of football games and continue to make Ohio State the best team in the Big Ten, the most relevant team. I mean, he made Ohio State the Alabama of the Midwest. They already had that reputation, but he definitely made that. Every time Ohio State was on your schedule, you had a belief that deep down you had no chance. This is coming from a Nebraska fan who, before last year, they outscored him 118-17 in 2 years. And he did an amazing job with Ohio State. And that's, I don't think, some people could say, well, it's not that good of a coaching job. They're Ohio State. They're a big school. I get that. And that doesn't come without, that I think has a little bit of a caveat to it. Sure. Keep burping. But I'm sorry, the dude's a liar. I don't believe a word that guy says. And I didn't like Urban Meyer before the situation that happened last summer. And what happened last summer only increased my disdain for that man. I want to dial it back to, I believe it was 2010. Let me double check here. At 2010, he wraps up his final season with Florida. They go 8-5 in 2010. His first real bad season. I mean, it's not great, but 8-5 is where he ends up with Florida in 2010, his last year there. He tells everybody that he's stepping down and taking time off to spend time with his family, and because he's had heart problems and heart issues.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming today. I appreciate Dr. Matchin's remarks. He has been tremendously supportive of myself and my family for over the last 7 years. I have great love for the University of Florida, and I'm very proud of what Dr. Matchin, Jeremy Foley, how they have helped us, what we've accomplished here at the University of Florida. I'm stepping down as a head football coach at the University of Florida to focus on family and my other interests away from the sidelines.
I'm not saying that he didn't have heart problems. I'm not his doctor. I don't have his medical records. I'm not saying that that's not true. But how he did this, his one bad season at Florida, and then the next year in 2011, Jim Tressel's out. He's gone because of the tattoo scandals, and Luke Fickell takes over. In that time, where he said he wanted to spend time with his family, Urban Meyer is a commentator for ESPN, where he's a color commentator. So he's traveling a lot. He's going to a lot of different football games throughout the season. How is that spending more time with his family? Because they travel a lot. Those play-by-play guys for what was it? I can't do math right now. For 4 or 5 months out of the year are traveling a lot. And he was like second tier. He wasn't like Herb Street level, but he was like second tier guy. So he was traveling quite a bit. Did his family go with him? Did they go on a lot of little fanny? They go on mini vacations? That doesn't add up to me. And then there's this talk about the Ohio State job search, that Luke Fickell was going to be an interim coach for 1 year, and then after that they were going to start the search for a new head coach for the Buckeyes. Awfully convenient that he took that year off. And then they keep asking him in the booth about Ohio State. He's like, well, I don't know yet. I don't know. If the right team comes knocking, maybe. Yeah, the right team was Ohio State because the next year he took the job for the Buckeyes. But I thought he wanted to spend more time with his family. I thought he had heart problems. I thought this guy really valued his health and really cared about his health. And I'm not going to step back on that comment. I'm not walking that back. Whether or not he had heart problems is not what I'm angry about. The fact that he lied and said he wanted to spend time with his family, and I'm not saying that he doesn't love his family. He's probably a great family man. He's probably a great dad. He's probably a great great husband to his wife. But to come out publicly, say, I want to spend more time with them, and maybe that was his intention at first, but then immediately turn around and say, well, I'm going to be a commentator for ESPN, where I'm traveling 5 to 6 months out of the year. And then showing up probably on, I don't remember, but showing up on the special presentations for the BCS games and the national championship stuff. Just showing up to those. Instead of spending time with his family in late December, early January. Seems awfully suspicious. Awfully suspicious. So then we jump forward to 2012. He takes over the Ohio State job, goes 12-0, continues to win. 2014, very first college football playoff, gets into the playoff at number 4 after losing by 2 touchdowns against Virginia Tech to start the year. They win every other game since pretty decidedly. They work their way in. They get the number 4 spot with some controversy, and then they win. They beat Oregon in the national championship. Believe it or not, Alabama wasn't in the national championship in 2014. They lost the semifinal. I know it's hard to believe because they're always in the national championship now. And then, business is always lurking around. He got in another time and they got blown out by Clemson. Always lurking around, always winning a lot of games, always the best team in the East, except for one year when they lost to Clemson, they got in over Penn State, which is questionable. I'm just trying to figure out how anybody can, other than his wins and losses, think that Urban Meyer can be remembered in a good light. And, anybody that coaches college football, you could say, well, look what he did for the kids. Yeah, sure. But this is a guy that left a school after one bad season to go coach at Ohio State. And during this whole time between Florida and Ohio State, employ a domestic abuser. That's right. I'm jumping into it right now. He employed Zach Smith. And do not tell me he did not know about what Jack Smith did because he paid for his counseling in Florida. He paid for couples counseling. He paid so that guy would stop beating his wife. And when that guy kept doing it, Urban Meyer didn't give a shit because he was winning football games. That is where it really clicked for me, where I was like, this is not a guy that should have a legacy that people should remember, and he should be held in high regard. He put a woman's life. This woman was pregnant and being beat. So that guy could have possibly killed their child. So Urban Meyer decides to put someone in his staff that is known to be a garbage human being in his staff and doesn't care because he's winning football games. That's why I will never like Urban Meyer, and I will never hold him in high regard. And as far as I'm concerned, his legacy will be tainted. I can't take away wins and losses from what he had on the football field. I'm not taking that away. But just because he's a great coach doesn't mean that he is not a heaping, flaming pile of garbage. And that's who Urban Meyer is, and that's who he will always be to me. When you repeatedly lie to people, tell people that you're taking time off to be with your family, lie about that, go and say, hey, Ohio State, I'm available. And in that whole time, hire a guy that beats his wife. You don't deserve a seat at the table to say, oh, he was a great guy. He was a great coach. I said it before. You can still be a great husband and a great father and still be a piece of shit. It's possible. And any Ohio State fan that wants to defend him, that would listen to this, find some Ohio State fan, they want to defend him, be my guest. Try and defend what he did. It's like this never changes. It's like we always have somebody, like in this situation, where we tend to forget about what they do and what they say because, oh, well, they won a lot of games. They probably did something for those kids. They got them an NFL career. Okay, a woman was beaten several times, and he did not. He tried to help once, And then after that, when he said that he helped and the guy got back, and then his wife, who gets these text messages from this woman, who he also says, remember, that he talks to his wife about everything and they're the best of friends. If they truly were that, and he says that this woman is getting these texts to his wife and she's not telling him that, I'm sorry, that's hard to believe. So if she does tell him that stuff, why did it take until last summer to fire him? Because he knew that heat was coming from the press because it got leaked that he didn't fire the guy. I also think it's very convenient that he wants to retire from football because of a health issue with a brain tumor right now. I got this from a friend on Facebook. Special shout out to him. He said that, Urban Meyer had a brain tumor. It was Zach Smith, and I 100% agree with that. I'm sorry. It's the boy who cried health issue. That's what Urban Meyer is. I got heart issues. I'm going to quit. I got a brain tumor. I'm going to quit. Hey, I'm available, Ohio State. Hey, this whole situation with this guy beating his wife, this is catching up to me, so I'm going to retire. Ohio State didn't even have the balls to fire him. They were like, well, we'll put him on a 3-game suspension, a.k.a. 2 powder puffs, and then TCU, who TCU didn't turn out to be very good, but they played him close. But yeah, we'll suspend him for Tulane and Oregon State. Oh, no, Tulane was after TCU, wasn't it? Oregon State, Buckweed State, and then in TCU, and then we'll get him back for Tulane. None of these people have integrity. None of these people can tell the truth. And I wasn't going to do this to slander the guy after he retires. But you know what? Frankly, I don't care. He should be slandered. Urban Meyer is not a good person. Maybe to his family. Maybe that's it. But as far as I'm concerned, if you willingly employ someone like Zach Smith, who's proven time and time again on Twitter that he's a freaking dirtbag, if you continually employ him and then you continually lie about health conditions, which, I'm sorry, oh yeah, I did say that. He might have that tumor. He might have those heart issues. But it's really hard to believe right now. It's very, very hard to believe right now. I cannot put that aside. I cannot personally say, oh man, you did a great job as a coach. You won a lot of football games. Good job, Urban. But at what cost? At what cost did you win those games? Why don't we start thinking about that? Why don't we start looking at things like that? I am so sick and tired of seeing reports about sexual abuse, about domestic abuse, running rampant throughout every university. And teams in the NFL, it doesn't stop. I've talked till I was blue in the face about how angry this makes me. Why we keep valuing wins over human lives. And before you want to talk about me being a hypocrite, if Scott Frost did any of the stuff Urban Meyer did, or allowed anything like what happened with, like, say, Art Briles from Baylor, I would want him fired. Because I don't want people like, those people don't belong in this sport. It's ridiculous. And I have no words, no more other words than to say, good riddance. Thank you, Urban Meyer, for showing your true colors this last season. I'm so glad you're gone. Good riddance, and don't let the door hit you on the way out. And I hope you never, ever come back. And I really hope people think about this when they think about his career. You know what else is hilarious in that press conference that Ohio State held? Somebody asked if he was done from coaching. He said that's a complicated issue. AKA, I'll go somewhere else where they'll be okay with me employing somebody like Zach Smith. He's not done coaching. He's going to go somewhere else. And somebody will gladly hire him, and he'll always have a job, and somebody will always be waiting there, because guess what? People don't care. People want wins. They don't care about who gets hurt. Along the way, they don't care. They just want wins. It's the sick, disgusting truth. And if you're an Ohio State fan who likes Urban Meyer, I'm real sorry I did this. I'm real sorry this hurt your feelings, but the dude's trash. He's a liar, and I refuse to let him get away. I'm not letting him off the hook. That kind of gross negligence doesn't belong, and that kind of lying does not belong. And sure, you can make the argument about Well, it could happen in any university. I'm sure there's other schools. I don't care. I don't care. That's not what I'm talking about right now, am I? I thought I was going to take a turn and have happier episodes, but I guess not. I guess I'm always going to be back to just being the ranty guy. Because as positive as I thought the playoff episode was, it was very ranty in sections, but I'm not... Man, I'm just really upset about this whole Urban Meyer thing. I did not know how upset I truly was until I started doing this, but I don't know. If you want to defend Urban, be my guest. I would love to have a debate with you and talk about that. I will be respectful because I think it's important to have these discussions. Gosh, I'm stuttering through this. I think it's important to have these discussions, and I'd love to hear your other side of it. I may not agree with it, but we can have civil discourse. It's very believable. And if somebody personally knows Urban and wants to defend him, go right ahead. I'd love to have that discussion. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, watching this episode, however you get this episode. Be sure to follow us on social media at Loud Opinionated on Twitter, Loud Opinionated on Facebook. Also putting some interesting stuff on Instagram about a possible future for the brand. It's pretty exciting. If you have something you'd like to share with us and put up on our website, maybe it's defending Urban Meyer, you can send that to beloud@loudopinionated.com. We can we'll read over that and throw it in the trash if it sucks. No, I'm kidding. We're not in the business of silencing anybody, and we will definitely look into that. And check out the website. It still looks great, and an update is coming very, very soon. It's going to look even better than it does now, and I'm very excited about where the brand of Loud and Opinionated is going. I think we ended up strong in 2018, but it's going to even be astronomically bigger in 2019, and I cannot wait. It's very, very exciting times. And thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. Unless you're Urban Meyer.